Hey, welcome to the CRAZYDRE Podcast Show. The Detroit Lions season is over. Who is to blame? Episode. Let's do this, folks. You're going to be able to watch this episode the following day in the evening. I'm going to air the recording of it so you can listen to it in the morning of the same day. So it's going to be Monday or Tuesday. I haven't decided yet. I think this is something to talk about. Detroit Lions season is over. Uh, it didn't go so well. We lost Ben Johnson, obviously, to the Bears. They have the best record in our division. Remember, the Bears it has the fourth easiest schedule of this of the season. So take take what you want to take out of that. You can blame Dan Campbell, you can blame John Martin, you can blame Brant Holmes, or whatever you want to do with that note. You just wouldn't be able to keep Ben Johnson at the offense coordinator much longer. Correct? That's kind of true. He would have gone somewhere else, maybe to the Raiders or whatever in the near future. If he didn't go to the Bears this year, it could have happened. He's going to go to the Raiders. That's what I was predicting to happen, anyways. If the Bears want to go and pick him up, but look, folks, um, let's talk about stuff. So, Detroit Lions needs to do about three things. One is figure out what guys are going to want to play in Detroit and which guys are not. What I mean by that, not have another episode of Frank Ragnar, a guy that was supposed to be in shape, been ready to go, but his injuries to his foot tagged him up, made it more difficult. He ended up retiring very, very late into uh, uh, spring training or camp, what do you want to call it. That's what I kind of want to say. You just can't give us that short notice to retiring. You just can't. So that's something that you have to do with Decker. He's already talking about retiring for himself. Remember, Skipper didn't even make the cut, the first 53-man cut that brought him back. So like stuff like that, you have to figure out what kind of offensive line that you're going to get. That's where we're hurt. You got the attitude of Detroit Lions towards the end of the year kind of was salty with St. Brown and Sewell. That's something you're going to have to fix. Yes, it sucks that we have to play Thanksgiving and now Christmas, but I'm hoping they kill the Christmas game for Detroit. I think there's just way too much of hassle for Detroit to play on Thanksgiving and Christmas now. Now, I did notice two things that Detroit it happened towards the second part of the year. Obviously, when Detroit had to play Thanksgiving, then we had an extra couple of days off Sunday, and then we had to play a Thursday game or a Saturday game or whatever. We played way too many short week games. We played on Sunday, and then 4 days later, we had to be ready. I don't think that's fair for Detroit. I don't think it's fair for Gibbs or even St. Brown or Sewell. I mean, it's just too much. It's just not. It's not. It's just not good. I do think that those guys with the attitude problem, St. Brown and Sewell, speaking out on it, that's something that you want to keep private to yourself as a member of the team. Yeah, you want to be that encouraging person to want to say, you know what, guys, this is going to be tough. It sucks, but we're going to go out there. We're going to do our best. We're going to try to win this game no matter what. That's called Dan Campbell's grit. Toughen it out. Hopefully, we don't have to do that again. So, and then the second problem that we have in Detroit is what? We're going to have to draft offensive guys, and we probably have to draft more D backs or something like that. Our D backs is our Achilles heel. It has nothing really to do with Arnold's development. He was improving. Branch, it doesn't really have to do with Branch's attitude or not doing so well or whatever negative feedback that people are getting out of this. But you can't prevent injuries. You can't prevent guys not going hard every week. And now, and I do think going Sunday to Thursday games is rough for Detroit. Okay, it's always going to be rough for the other teams. I don't know why we are the black sheep of the NFL. I feel like Cleveland Browns and Detroit Lions and maybe the Buffalo Bills are the black sheeps. All right, so I think that's one thing that's the second thing that we have to fix. The third thing that we got to fix is probably find a new offensive coordinator. Dan Campbell uh, was doing way too much. He took him away from being with the offensive coordinator. If he wasn't the offensive coordinator, John Morton didn't do a good job, or be with uh, Calvin Shepard and go over things during commercial breaks and during possessions. It just helps to have the coach give his input, question what the upstairs sees, what the upstairs doesn't see, what the defense coordinator is trying to do, what he's not trying to do. Dan Campbell can't really do everything. I just don't think that's possible for Dan Campbell. Some people have thought that Detroit practice was too hard, but I don't think that's the problem. I think the practices are fine as long as you get rest. In Detroit's resting pace, Sundays, Thursdays, extra 3 days off to make 10 days, and then back to 4 day uh, uh, game days. That's just not going to happen. That's just not going to work for Detroit. Um, but Detroit against the Vikings, I kind of want to talk about three things about Jared Goff. Jared Goff fumbled the ball 3 times. Gibbs fumbled the ball once. Six total turnovers. Jared Goff with 2 interceptions. Uh, he's just a quarterback that you're just going to have to kind of babysit. You have to pump him up. You have to. I say this every week. You're just going to have to work with him every single moment of every game. And he's not that type of player that's going to get into other players' faces. I don't see him getting in the faces of the offensive line guys and say, "Hey, you fucked up." Oh, I just swore. Well, you messed up. You just are not doing what you're supposed to do. Or if something goes wrong for him, he's not going to owe up to it. He should owe up to it. He should owe up to at least those 2 interceptions. And he had opportunity to run outside the pocket a couple times. I think he did have 8 yards. I don't know. I don't remember if he had 8. No, he only had 2 yards. But look, folks, that's what he has to do. He just has to buck up. He's got to take in charge. This is your team. This is your offense. You have to kind of know what you're going to do no matter what. The calls come in. I sometimes wonder if he audibles to the wrong play or he overthinks. Maybe he does. I'm not on the football field. So, I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt because again, I'm not an athlete. I'm just a fan who's doing this podcast. So say what you want to say. Minnesota, it's just kind of weird that they beat us with negative 3 yards. And if you look at the stats for Detroit, Detroit had 231 total yards. We had 163 yards of passing. They had 3 yards. I think it was negative 3 actually. Maybe it was just 3 yards. But the thing is, that guy, Browser, he got sacked 7 times. So Detroit's defense did do the job, but with no points, nothing going on, it's going to be difficult. All right. The one thing I saw that Detroit did pretty well was that we rushed the ball 30 times, but we only gained about 68 yards off 30 rushes. So that's something to be good and bad about. That's another thing that I should bring up that kind of went away from Detroit was the fact that we went away from David Montgomery. We had to go away from David Montgomery, I guess. Jamar Gibbs was catching, running, and doing everything. But to be honest with you, it's not really Montgomery's fault because we went away from Montgomery. We had to go away from Montgomery because we were way, way down, third and longs and second down and tens, and just it didn't feel right. You no offensive line, no tight end with Laporta, and Brock Wright. I think he was hurt too. I mean, you just can't do it much with that. All right, so and to all the fans out there who think that Dan Campbell should get fired, obviously you don't know enough about football. Dan Campbell is the best thing that ever happened in Detroit because he's that guy that can get guys to play hard and practice hard and be ready and do their film study and just doing things right. Dan Campbell just needs an offense coordinator. But I want to, before I end this segment about Detroit, I want to take a look at this one play that I think that all Detroit Lion fans will agree with me that the NFL is somewhat against Detroit. And I'm going to add this on there. I'm going to start it out, and here we go. So this guy, uh, Racing Ranger Alex, he puts it up there. There's a guy, particularly a guy in the background right behind Dan Campbell. He's calling the plays to the referees, supposedly, to have a false start. This is the play that's going on right now. In the and here we go. So the play goes, and the penalty in the penalty is called, and coming to find out, it's a false start. So that's something that you fan base has to figure out. He also made a point that Dan Campbell pretended to be upset and angry. But you know what I'm going to say about this play, folks? I'm going to say this. I'm going to go back up here. I'm going to say this. Now, if this is true that the NFL is a little bit rigged, what do you feel about it? How do you feel about the fact that we know that we just saw that this video showed that we are probably the NFL is being a moment of fake sport moment. Not looking good for not for the NFL, especially in that video from Racing Ranger Alex on TikTok. So there you go. I've got the video. I finally found it. They're just, you know, I didn't want it to make this episode about this, but I couldn't help it because I saw it and I was debating to talk about it. But I just think we have to talk about this. We have to realize that maybe it is just the way it is, and maybe the Detroit Lions and the Cleveland Browns are destined to lose all the time. But you know who else is destined to win all the time in college football? Ohio State and Michigan. So that's something you gotta have to consider. If you gotta wonder if Michigan and Ohio State was not a good football team, would Detroit Lions be a good team? Or does the Ford family have some vendetta against the NFL and the rest of the owners? That's something you have to think about. Speaking of things that in the NFL, uh, it looks like there's a debate with the Chicago Bears moving to Indiana, to Gary, Indiana, to be called the Indiana Bears. If I was a Bear fan, I'd be really upset. I don't know why they can't build a stadium near Soldier Field. I don't know why they can't take down Soldier Field and build another one. That makes no sense. No one wants to pay for the taxes, but you know, you got the Chicago Cubs, you got the Chicago White Sox, you got the Blackhawks, you got the Bulls. I mean, you have all these teams downtown, so you might as well build a stadium in Chicago. Forget about Arlington, build in Chicago. Who wants to go to see the Bears in Gary, Indiana? Yes, I know that bring a huge economy up that would make Indiana great, but keep it classy. Tradition is always good. In this case, about sports and life in this point of living, Tradition is good. Speaking of another team that's going to move in 2031 is the Kansas City Chiefs going out to Kansas. Now they don't have to change anything. They just have to the fact that they're going to go to a different state, and I think it's less than 30 miles or some form. But it looks like Kansas needs something more than the Kentucky Wildcats because they're not doing anything for college basketball, and there's really nothing else in Kentucky besides Abraham Lincoln's ancestors. Am I right? So I mean Kansas. Well, so like, I got that mixed up. Kansas is still a good team. Kentucky is of the bad team. That's Kentucky Wildcats in college basketball. They're not doing so well. So I got my material a little mixed up. I'm running in my head a little bit too fast. But folks, guess what? I'm going to end this here. I don't know what you guys think of Detroit Lions season. I don't know what everyone wants to see, what people want to hear. But since the season's over, I might do another episode of the last game of the season. It's kind of sad that the Green Bay Packers have lost their game, and the Bears are going to probably lose this game. Who knows? They might lose, but if they lose, it's just strange. You know what I mean? It is strange. Detroit had an opportunity, didn't do it. They couldn't toughen out. So if you like this podcast, follow me. I'll be airing the episode audio the next day. The video will be next the same day, but in the evening. It's just easier for listeners and people to follow that way. And it's just what it is. All right. Follow me on Spotify, follow me on Apple Podcasts, follow me wherever you download your podcasts. And then you can also do the Patreon. Please pay, subscribe, membership. It helps me out. And also, I'm also on YouTube. There you go, folks. I'm out of here. Peace, love. Let's go. It's always